It's BetPARX Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook at Parx Casino in Bensalem. I'm Jeff Skversky. Thanks for joining us on PHLY Sports YouTube channel. We are taking you from 12 to 2 here today in a jam-packed Parx Casino here in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. We're alongside my producer, Andrew Frazier. It is cold, it is dreary out. This place is packed. A lot of people inside here placing some bets, perhaps on the Eagles, who are 3-point favorites tomorrow against the Dallas Cowboys down in Big D at 425. We have a jam-packed show today. A lot to get to. We're going to talk about the Eagles drama. My goodness. This is an 8-2 football team and lots of drama. We're going to have on former Eagles receiver Irving Fryar, the number 1 overall pick in the 1984 draft. He's going to join us to talk about the Eagles offense. A.J. Brown, of course, Jalen Hurts, everything going on with the Birds. Perhaps he has an answer on how to fix this offense. Plus, Cowboys longtime radio play-by-play man Brad Sham will join us live to get his insight on the Dallas Cowboys, what's going on with their offense, Dak Prescott, as well as their defense. It should be a defense the Eagles should beat up on Sunday. We're going to get into some sports betting with our expert Brad Feinberg. Plus, we're going to get into the Sixers. What do the Sixers do? Still no Joel Embiid. He has been out the last 6 games with that knee injury. It's the same story, yada, yada, yada. We're going to check in with Dave McMenamin. He is an ESPN reporter, covers the NBA, the Lakers, Sixers. He has some interesting insight. We're going to get into what Dave says. Could the Sixers at some point move on from Joel Embiid? Perhaps a trade. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we're going to get into the Union playoffs. They kick off tomorrow after the Birds. The Union, can they make a run? They're the best team in Major League Soccer. We're going to talk to former Union star Sebastian Letou, and we're also going to talk about Bernie Parent, the Flyers legend who passed away about 6 weeks ago. The Flyers held the celebration of life for Bernie Parent yesterday. Number 1, of course, in our hearts. Former Flyer star Brian Propp. He will join us in the next hour to talk about Bernie. He was at the celebration of life last night, and we'll get all into that and just what Bernie meant to the city of Philadelphia and, of course, the Flyers, helping lead them to back-to-back Stanley Cups in the 1970s. So, again, jam-packed show. Jeff Skversky, Andrew Frazier here with us. Can we please get into this Eagles-Cowboys stuff, the drama? It's cartoony, right? The Eagles are 8-2, I believe the best football team in the National Football League. Yet there is just drama week in, week out. Look, the Eagles have not played to their potential offensively, and who thought going into this season that it would be the Eagles' offense having the issues and not the defense? But there is certainly something going on here. The Eagles, when you look at where they are at, 25th overall offense. They have the 28th passing offense. Unacceptable for this amount of talent. Having said that, the Eagles are winning football games. And I try to say to myself, when was the last time the Eagles had the number 1 offense? When? When was the last time the Eagles had the number 1 offense? You don't even know, right? And it doesn't even matter. At the end of the day, it's about winning football games. And yes, they lost to the Giants, and that was an ugly loss on that Thursday night football game. And they lost to the Broncos, who've turned out to be a very good football team. So you're always going to lose a game you shouldn't. You're always going to win a game maybe you shouldn't. Maybe it was that Rams game and that Jordan Davis walk-off. But this football team as a whole, it's cartoony. Can we stop with the drama? Because at the end of the day, they're not playing their best football, and that's a good thing. Because you look down the line, you don't want them to be playing their best football this time of the year, do you? You want them to be playing their best football in the playoffs. And look, nobody is happy with the way this is going. And you hear the stories coming out this week. Derek Gunn, longtime sportscaster and reporter, coming out with the story that some teammates, people within the Eagles organization, are frustrated with Jalen Hurts, the way he's playing. I look at it like this. He's protecting the football. Has the Eagles, have they been a sexy, exciting offense? Of course not. I was at the game Sunday against the Lions, actually in the stands with some friends. It was cold, it was rainy, it was windy, wind gusts picking up left and right. It was not a fun game to be at. But at the end of the day, I try to tell myself, if you're a fan, they are winning football games. And again, Jalen Hurts has not been sexy, but he's not turning the football over. And that is a key distinction that we have to remember, that the goal is to win games. At 8-2, the Eagles are among the best teams in football, and certainly the best team in the NFC conference. And yes, he looked off. Jared Goff looked off. Certainly the win played a factor into it, but maybe these guys just have an off game. And certainly when you look at the collaboration of the entire season, it is unacceptable when you look at the potential this offense has. At the same time, I mean, come on, they're winning. And at the end of the day, if they go on to win back-to-back Super Bowls, are you going to remember just the day in and day out frustrations with this offense? You're going to go, when it mattered, they won the game. And so far this season, when it mattered, in large part, the Eagles have won these football games. And look, I try to think to myself, would you rather have a quarterback that is turning the ball over? No. And I know you would rather have Jalen Hurts throwing 5 touchdowns and winning and 500 yards of offense and this thing to be clicking and clicking and clicking. But we've been pointing blame from A.J. Brown to Saquon Barkley to the offensive line, Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator, getting a ton of heat. Now it's Jalen Hurts. And Jalen this week, I commend him for really just stepping up and saying, you know, I'm doing everything I can to be a leader. I never run away. He said, quote, I never run away from holding myself accountable. And stuff has come out. Eagles legend Deshaun Jackson said that, you know, there's something going on, he believes, with A.J. Brown. There's something going on. He can tell something is going on with A.J. Brown. Deshaun Jackson on a podcast said, quote, as you can tell, there's something else going on. I have a great relationship with him. I respect him. I can't say what it is, but I know it's something else going on. It's not all about football. It's not all about X's and O's. I've had relationships with quarterbacks I didn't necessarily like, and when it ain't there, it sticks out like a sore thumb. That's all I'm going to say. That is from Eagles legend Deshaun Jackson on a podcast this week talking about the A.J. Brown dynamic with Jalen Hurts. And look, again, the notion that this offense is too conservative, would you rather have that or would you rather have losses? I'm going to give you a stat. Again, this is not a sexy offensive football team right now. It has not been a sexy quarterback play as of right now. But Jalen Hurts has been a great decision maker. The turnover battle, think about this. Teams that win the turnover battle win 78% of the time. Nick Sirianni harps on winning the turnover battle week in and week out. And here's the stat I want to get to. The Eagles, 40-2 under Nick Sirianni when they win the turnover battle. What else do you want when you look at this football team? Again, I just think it's just silly. It's cartoony that there is so much drama around this football team. And you think about this run. The Eagles have won 24 of the last 27 games. They have the best winning percentage since 2024, including the playoffs. They just won a Super Bowl. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years. They've won 2 in the last 9 years. This is the greatest run of Eagles football we have ever seen in this city. And I try to say, can we just enjoy it for just a second? Can we please enjoy the Philadelphia Eagles as opposed to this difficult drama week in and week out? It is absurd to me. And I don't think this drama goes on in really any other city. You have some drama in New York. You have some drama, obviously, in some of the bigger markets. But when else have we had a football team like this? I mean, I grew up with a lot of bad football and a lot of bad baseball, by the way. I mean, the Phillies in the 90s were awful other than 93. I just want people to just take a step back and realize just how good you have it. And I know the offense has been a struggle compared to the defense. I mean, you lost so many guys on defense. You never thought you would be in this situation. I want to bring in Andrew Frazier, my producer. I want to get your take on this.
Sure.
The Eagles' offense, it has not been fun. It has been pulling teeth. And I know there's some potential underlining issues, but do you see my point at all where can we just take a step back and say, I know it wasn't fun, at least Sunday, against the Lions, but my goodness, this team, they're winning. What else do you want?
And I guess that's the whole argument, correct? What do you want? Do you want a team that's going to be risky? You're going to want a quarterback who's going to throw the ball, who's going to take those risky shots down the field, who may turn the ball over? Or do you want a team that's going to be conservative? They're going to be consistent. They're going to win games. And yeah, it's tough to watch. The product is not really what I think Philadelphia wants to see, especially since last year we had that Saquon home runs all the time. You saw that explosiveness in the run game. We had that to kind of fall back on last year. With this right now, the way Saquon's kind of playing, the way that this offense is kind of going with the passing game, we're not getting that product. But at the end of the day, the history of an Eagles fan is we love running game. We love smash mouth defense.
We also love complaining.
We also love complaining. That is true.
And I try to think of myself that we just love complaining.
Yes, we do love complaining. And I think nothing is ever going to be perfect in the eyes of an Eagles fan, and that's totally fine.
We're trying to connect with Irving Fryer, the former Eagles star and number 1 overall pick in the 1984 draft. He's trying to connect with us as we're going to get into some Eagles conversation. And look, Jalen Hurts was asked about it this week when he talked about, of course, everything going on. And he said he was not surprised that some have voiced their frustration behind the scenes. He's not surprised by anything. And I think Jalen Hurts has handled it okay. And he's been a great leader in handling this conversation. And when you have 2 seconds to make a decision with 5 or 6 or 7 300-pound linemen coming at your head, and he's not the tallest guy either, it is extremely difficult. It is extremely difficult to make a snap decision. And if he's ultra cautious, I don't have an issue with that, because a turnover, as I said, could be the death of a football game, could be the death of a season. Think about in the NFC title game last year, in the snow against the LA Rams, the Eagles were so close to losing that game. A lot of people forget that. You just think about beating the Rams and the Saquon touchdown and smacking his head and just how thrilling that was, and going on to blow out the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl to win their second Super Bowl title. But when I think about really this football team, they're protecting the football. They've been so good at it. Again, 40-2 under Nick Sirianni when they win the turnover battle. So when I think about that, it's just about managing the game and coming away with a win. And I don't have an issue with it. And I do understand the frustrations from players on the team. And I think Jalen is frustrated, but his job is to not necessarily show that emotion and be that leader and not get caught up in that roller coaster. And I understand it's difficult for the receivers because they don't control the ball on every single play, and nobody else is complaining, at least publicly. You have A.J. Brown, who's obviously been upset. But look, Saquon Barkley, he's not had a great season as far as statistics are concerned. But again, 8-2 atop the NFC. The Eagles are on the verge of winning back-to-back NFC East titles, which has not happened in, early 2000s, since the Andy Reid era. And so the NFC East is always tough. This game tomorrow, as the Eagles are favorites, always tough. And especially you have a banged-up offensive line. You're not going to have Lane Johnson. That is problematic. The Eagles have not been great without Lane Johnson. And so we'll see what happens in this game. I do not expect it to be a blowout. Dak Prescott has been very good offensively, and he's been very good against the Eagles at home. I saw the stat this week that Dak Prescott has not lost to the Eagles since 2017 at home in Dallas, which does amaze me because this Eagles-Cowboys rivalry does not feel as if it has been, this big heated rivalry the last few years, as the Eagles have really dominated the division, have really dominated football. Again, when you think about what the Eagles have done, Nick Sirianni, and the Eagles' best winning percentage since 2024, 24 of 17. And I just say, what else can you ask for from this team? So I don't want to just go on this monologue and give my take. I want to get a take from an expert, a guy who's played the game, former Eagles receiver, first-round pick, 5-time Pro Bowler. Irving Fryer joins the show. Irving, great to have you on. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am great. I want to get your take as someone who's played the game at a very high level, someone who's played for the Eagles, someone who grew up in the area, in South Jersey, Mount Holly, Rancocas Valley Regional High School grad. Irv, is this just Eagles fans complaining, or do you see a legitimate issue here with the Philadelphia Eagles and the offense?
Well, I think what's happening with the offense, obviously, with the naked eye, whether you played or didn't play, you can see that there is some stagnation there, that it's kind of vanilla, that it's underperforming, particularly when you look at all of the talent that we have on the offensive side of the ball, particularly at the skill positions, the quarterback and the running back and the 2 wide receivers and the tight end. The Eagles have had, and as you know, the game starts in the trenches. And they've had some issues and still have issues with the front line. When they get that resolved, we seem to have been able to do that. And I say we, but the Eagles seem to have been able to do that a couple of times, a couple of games, Giants game, the Vikings game, but it's been up and down since then. So, yeah, there are definitely some issues. I have a lot of different opinions.
Well, I want to hear them. I mean, what do you think? What do you think the solution is? And obviously, as a receiver, you probably understand and feel A.J. Brown's frustration. I mean, you played in the league 17 years. I'm sure you've had it in the locker room. What do you think the solution is here?
Well, I don't think there is a solution, actually, because the offense starts with the quarterback. Jalen is going to be Jalen. I heard listened to a couple of interviews that he had this past week, and the reporters were asking questions, not trying to provoke him, but trying to get an understanding of where he is psychologically, mentally, in terms of the offense. And when you look at what's happening with the offense, there have been several times I've seen opportunities for Jalen to throw the ball to wide open receivers, and for some reason he just doesn't. My opinion is that, Jalen is really of the mindset that he's not going to turn the ball over. And not turning the ball over means he's not an anticipatory quarterback where routes and the route combinations, if the routes are going over the middle of the field, particularly in a zone defense, he's not going to anticipate that receiver coming into that open area in that zone and throw the ball prior to the receiver making that break. Jalen has to see his receiver open to throw him the ball. And that's, I think, the mindset that he's gravitated towards and lives in, dwells in, because he's determined not to turn the ball over. Last year when they started the season, when Kellen Moore was here, he started off, just trying to chunk that ball into tight areas and ended up with a couple of interceptions. And when they came back from the break last season, he changed. And he's been the same way ever since. And I believe that's a part of why Kevin Patullo has issues in his play calling, because there's certain things that Jalen just will not do. And Kevin has to keep it vanilla, because Jalen's not going to throw the ball in certain areas, particularly when you try to put together a colorful or a more aggressive pass combinations with routes runnings and guys crossing and all of that. Jalen's just not, he's not going to be that guy. The routes are stop routes, they're slant routes, or they're go routes. Easy for him to see, easy for him to address, and easy for him to respond to.
So it sounds like you're saying the problem is more with Jalen Hurts than it is with Kevin Patullo. And Patullo's taken a lot of heat earlier in the season, but it seems to be shifting toward Jalen. Do you think the biggest issue here is with Jalen Hurts?
Well, I don't think it's an issue because he wins.
Well,
I mean,
that's kind of my point. And listen,
Right.
I'm at the game Sunday, and it was an awful game. I'm sorry, like, it wasn't exciting, and it wasn't a Madden EA Sports video
Right.
game, but they are
Right.
winning. So the question really becomes, do you believe the Eagles can sustain this success with Jalen Hurts being conservative? And I threw out that stat out there. The Eagles are 40-2 under Nick Sirianni when they win the turnover battle. And you played in this league 17 years. When you win the turnover battle, you're going to win the football game.
9 times out of 10, when you don't turn the ball over, yes, you give yourself a greater chance of becoming victorious in that game. No, it's not sustainable. What the offense is doing right now, and the 3 and outs, and the lack of production, the lack of big plays, explosive plays as they call them. No, I don't think it's sustainable, because I believe in these one at least, maybe 2 of these last 7 games that they're going to play. Obviously, this is the easier part of their schedule. They played the hardest part of their schedule, but in these last 7 games, there's going to come a game where the defense is not going to be pouncing all over the place and producing and stopping the way they have been as of recent. And the offense is going to have to put points on the board. This game against the Dallas Cowboys very well could be that game, because Dallas can score. I don't think they'll score a bunch of points on us, but guess what? We can't go into this game and score 10 points and think that we're going to win.
Well, let's hope not. And I don't mean to cut you off, but let's hope not, because the Cowboys' defense is terrible, right? I mean, when you look at where they are, I mean, statistically, they're terrible, but you know better than anybody, you played in it, the NFC East battles are always tough. I don't care how great you are. I don't care how bad you are. These NFC East games are always just brutal.
Yeah. Well, I think we should kind of be concerned if we get into a situation where we have to throw the ball and then it doesn't happen. I think, the way Jalen is carrying himself, the way he's running that offense, the way he does things in his approach, I think when the time comes, if the time comes that we have to throw the ball, to whether we're catching up or whether we're trying to keep up or whether it's a shootout, I think he'll be able to do that because he's done it in the past. So, right now they're winning 10 games. They're 8-2. 11 games into the season, but they're 8-2. They're 10 games they played. Let's see what happens. I'm of the mindset that they're going to keep on winning. Yes, it's not pretty. No, they're not putting up big stats, but he's winning. So I guess you got to leave him alone until it gets to a point to where he has to perform and he doesn't do it. But in the past, when he's had to perform, when he's had to throw that ball, when he's had to get it down the field, when they've had to score points, they've been able to do it.
I guess the concern becomes, does this catch up to the Eagles? And obviously, A.J. Brown has voiced his frustrations. And I don't think anybody specifically is calling anyone out, and it's some sort of nasty locker room. But you've been on a lot of teams. You've been in a lot of locker rooms, and there's a lot of personalities and a lot of people making a lot of money and egos. Have you had a point in your career that you can take me back to as a receiver that has played at a high level, again, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, 1984, that you were in a locker room on a team where you're not getting the ball and the offense is not clicking? How do you handle that? What is the right way to handle that? How do you navigate that situation when you go, okay, we're winning, but I'm not getting the ball and I don't see this offense going as well as it should be? How do you handle a situation just like that?
Well, I was in a situation not quite exactly the same, but down in Miami, 11 games into the season, we were 9-2. We didn't win a game after that and never made the playoffs. And there began to be some beef in the locker room. There began to be some dissension among the ranks, so to speak. And that just, as we continued to lose games, it just got worse and worse and worse. And I'm glad you bring that up because, here's a team, like you said, I played 17 years in the NFL. I've gone to 1 Super Bowl, got beat real bad in that Super Bowl. In fact, that was the worst defeat in the Super Bowl at that time against the Bears in '85. Never sniffed the Super Bowl after that. I'll never put a uniform on again. I'll never put a helmet on again. I'll never put cleats on again. I'll never catch a ball on an NFL field again. And here is a team that just won the Super Bowl in 2025. They're defending champs, whether they want to admit it or not. And they have an opportunity with all this talent to legitimately get back to the Super Bowl this year and repeat. And here there is all of this dissension. Here it is, a civil war going on in the locker room. I don't think they understand the opportunity that they have and how blessed they are. And it's very, very disappointing to me because I would give, you know what I would give to have a Super Bowl ring? Just one. Have a Super Bowl ring and then have an opportunity to play with these great athletes, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, Lane Johnson, Landon Dick. These are great, great athletes, great Philadelphia football players, and there's beef going on in the locker room. It just behooves me. I can't understand it. They just don't see how grand this opportunity is and how blessed they are.
And from the sound of it, it doesn't sound like, it sounds like it's a big deal, but it's not a big deal. It sounds like it's a little overblown. And like I said, you grew up here, you know the drama in this city over this football team. And I try to think about it and I go, can we just take a step back? This is the greatest run of Eagles football we've ever seen. And look, when you go into the season, you're probably thinking the defense is going to be a mess because they lost so many key players, two big guys on the defensive line. You lost guys in the secondary. And you watch the way this defense has played, shutting down the Packers, shutting down the Lions. I don't know what I'm more surprised at, the defense playing to this level or the offense playing to this level.
Well, that's just a testament to defensively to Vic Fangio and his ability to coach and recognize talent. You know, he was down there in Miami a couple of years ago and was not getting any cooperation from the young players because Vic is somewhat of an old school coach. But guess what? He comes to Philadelphia, and in one season, one off season, and one season goes to the Super Bowl and has the best defense in the doggone league. So that's a testament to who he is. And, you know, Zach Bond, you know, never played that position the way he's playing it now, and he's an all-pro, and he brings in, you know, Jalen Phillips, and he's all over the place. You know, that's Vic Fangio. It's Vic Fangio, and he's done a phenomenal job. Like I said, though, what the offense is doing is not sustainable. They're going to, at some point, have to throw the ball down the field, score more than 10 points, more than 7 points, 16 points in a game to win that particular game. I think they'll be able to do it because they've done it in the past. I mean, look at the Super Bowl last year. The Chiefs took away the run. Saquon was ineffective in that game. We had to throw the ball. Jalen did it and did it at a very, very high level. So he can turn it on when he needs to and get that ball down the field into the hands of his big playmakers.
Yeah, and look, his deep ball has not looked great at times, obviously Sunday, but look, the wind was a factor. Jared Goff, who's one of the most accurate passers in the league, he did not look good either. And, you know, the conditions had to be a factor, and some guys just have off nights. But when I do look at this football team and I look at Jalen Hurts, I mean, Wilbur Montgomery told me last year, same with Jeremiah Trotter and even Nick Sirianni, that Jalen Hurts has one of the best deep balls in football. Now, I don't think we've seen that this year per se, but it is there. And in some ways, I think it's a good thing that we have not seen this team play to its capability because, as you know, you don't want to be playing your best football right now. You want to be playing your best football at the end of the season, especially the way this team is positioned. This team is positioned to win back-to-back Super Bowls and certainly the favorite to come out of the NFC. So, you know, what would you like to see from the Eagles offense Sunday in Dallas tomorrow? Obviously, the Cowboys defense, when I look at these numbers, I'm looking at it, they have the 30th ranked defense and the 30th pass defense in football. I mean, they should really be able to take advantage of this, assuming that the offensive line, without Lane Johnson, potentially without Cam Jurgens, can give Jalen Hurts some time in the pocket.
Well, what I would like to see in this particular game, because they're playing against a defense that is, you know, not very good at all, I would like to see the offense sustain drives, not have so many 3 and outs. You know, the Eagles are number 1, which is not a good number 1. They have the most 3 and outs offensively out of any team in the NFL right now. I would like to see a sustained drive, 10 plays, 12 plays, and go down and finish and score touchdowns, not kick field goals. There was a drive, I think it was their 11th drive last week. It was 22 plays, and I think they went 25 yards. It was like 2.2 yards per play. They ended up kicking a field goal, but it was ridiculous. So some explosive plays would be nice to see as well. You know, something over 15 yards, whether it's a pass play, whether it's a run play. And I like to see also a few more RPOs. You know, Jalen Hurts has a 75% completion rate running the RPOs. So, and I know they're not doing it as much as they used to because they don't want to, you know, they want to make sure to protect Jalen and not get him hurt. But man, the RPO is like an extra man for the offense. It makes that defensive end stand still. He's got to stay there to see what's going to happen, whether he's going to hand that ball off to Saquon or whether he's going to keep it and run it himself. So it's an addition to the offense that really becomes effective. Play action. You can run play action off the RPO. So I like to see them do that a little bit more as well because they've kind of gotten away from that.
So how do you think this plays out tomorrow? If you can give me a prediction, Eagles, Cowboys, we saw what the Eagles did in the opener, beating them by 4. Eagles surprisingly only a 3-point favorites in this one. Again, we talk about that NFC East battle. Can you give me a prediction tomorrow? I know we want to see out of the offense, but give me a prediction tomorrow what you believe is going to go down in Big D.
Well, first of all, Cowboys suck. Okay. First of all, the Cowboys suck.
That's just putting it very nicely, right? Yeah. Or bluntly.
I just want to make sure I get that out there. Everybody knows where I stand when it comes to the Cowboys.
So you're saying you don't like the Cowboys?
Nah. Well, you know what? Anybody who's played in the NFL and did not play for the Cowboys doesn't like the Cowboys.
But it is interesting because it does feel like the Cowboys-Eagles rivalry has kind of died down the last few years.
Well, because they suck. They haven't done anything, so there's not really a big competition.
Well, that's a good point. So it's fair to say that the Eagles are going to win tomorrow. You like the Eagles?
Yes, I do like the Eagles. Again, I think this game could be that game where Jalen and the offense has to get going in terms of being creative and getting the ball down the field and running RPOs and scoring points. I believe the Eagles are going to have to score at least 21 points in this game to win this game. I don't believe our defense, although Dak and that, you got Pickens and you got CeeDee Lamb, they're balling. They're doing very well. Dallas did pick up a couple of defensive players, Williams, and I believe a couple of the starters in the secondary are back. So they're a little more solid than they've been in the past. They're feeling good about themselves after beating the lowly Raiders. But I think we can hold them. I personally think our defense can hold the Dallas Cowboys to 17 points. So 21-17 is my game analysis score.
I'm really hoping they score more than 20 points because you know what the conversation's going to be on the back end is that they still have not been able to score at a high level. And I am shocked. I mean, when I look at where the Eagles are offensively, again, 25th overall in offense, 28th in passing defense. But again, Jalen Hurts, best touchdown to interception ratio in the league. They've been fantastic as far as in the win column. They beat the Lions and the Packers. And, It is hard to believe that we're even talking about this because you would just think that it's going to feel like a video game this season. You saw what they did against the Chiefs, and it was just going to be soaring. The Eagles are going to be soaring this year. It's been this painful existence with the Eagles.
Yeah, but, I mean, like you said, they've gone to Tampa Bay. When the last time we beat Tampa Bay? We were struggling going down to beat Tampa. They beat Tampa Bay and Tampa this year. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Lions. They beat all the teams. That Green Bay, they won. They've beaten all those teams. No, they didn't score a whole bunch of points. But guess what? They held Green Bay to 7 points. They held the Lions to 9 points. That's the hardest part of their schedule. winning is what's most important. Winning is what's most important. I promise you, if they keep winning the way they are, which is people are saying barely winning or winning ugly games or not being explosive offensively, but they're still winning because you only got to win by one. And they go to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl that way, I'm sure when everybody's at the parade, nobody's going to mention how they won the Super Bowl.
I agree with you, and that's kind of my whole point at the top of the show, which is this is the best run the Eagles have ever had. Can we just enjoy it? And I know it's hard because the players, the fans, they see that potential, and you just go, oh my goodness, can we just go flying? But I always go, do you remember the last time the Eagles had the number one offense in football? Do you even care? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they have the best offense in football and they look like a video game. I remember some of those Michael Vick years and the Donovan years and LaShawn and Shady, and you're like, wow, this is incredible what Deshaun and LaShawn are doing.
Right.
And you're like, you didn't win at the end of the day. And so who cares? And listen, I'm sure you see the game from a very unique lens, and maybe you're yelling at the TV like Eagles fans are on Sundays and Mondays and coming up on a Friday game, even coming up on Black Friday. But I get it, but I just try to say, can we just enjoy this? And I get it, the players, they want to be at their best, and you see the potential. But can we just enjoy this for a second, please? I mean, it's the greatest run in Eagles history they've ever had. You've won 2 Super Bowls in 9 years.
Yeah, and when you look at all of the Philly sports, you know, whether it's hockey, basketball, I mean, the basketball team's doing all right now, but the Phillies, you know, the Eagles have given the most pleasure to the fans over the last 7 years.
But it doesn't feel that way. No, but I know, but it doesn't feel that way.
No, it doesn't feel that way, but that's because we keep stirring the pot. You're not sitting back and enjoying it. We're kind of, you know, we have a win, but then we want to pick apart what we didn't like about that win. What do you mean? I thought the object of the game is to win.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah,
and I'm with you. I'm with you.
You're trying to get better. You're trying to improve. That's why we watch film. That's why we come in to try to change or correct any mistakes that may have happened or missed assignments or lack of effort or anything like that from week to week. You want to improve in those areas, of course. But the bottom line for everything is winning. And yes, I'm the same way as everybody else. Whether I played before, whether I didn't play before, to me, I'm looking at this roster on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, why aren't we scoring every time we have an offensive possession? To me, that's what I think we should be doing. We should be scoring every time we have an offensive possession, because no defense can put together enough talent on defense or a good enough scheme to stop A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert. Come on. You can't stop those guys. You can't. Look at what Kellen Moore did last season with that offense. I mean, yes, the foundation of it was running the ball, which just set up everything else. And they just kind of did whatever it is they wanted to do whenever it needed to be done last year.
Yeah,
because the foundation was great.
Yeah, but what I do like about this team, Irving, as we're talking to Irving Fryer, former Eagles star and number 1 overall pick in 1984, 5-time Pro Bowler. Last thing for you is that what is special to me about this team, they have won games in a different fashion. They've won it with defense. They've won it with offense. They've been able to drive down the field when needed. You hit on that earlier. This team finds ways to win in all sorts of categories, all sorts of ways, and to me, that's a sign of a complete team. I don't care so much the stats and the way it looks, and yes, it feels like a struggle, but they are winning.
And that's good for the team, for the players on the Eagles, so that whatever any scenario they may come up against, whatever the situation may be in terms of time on the clock or field position, they know they have the confidence that we can win this game. And it's also a message that's sent to the rest of the league, other teams. You better not sleep on the Eagles. They know that already, but they know that at any given point, listen, they can make a comeback, they can make it happen, they're not going to give up. They've won ugly games. It may look bad, but they'll come through. It sends a message not just to the league, but I guess, again, it's a confidence builder for the guys on the team.
Yeah, it certainly is. Well, Irving Fryer, former Eagles receiver, we appreciate you so much joining us. Great insight, talking about the A.J. Brown situation, the Jalen Hurts, his offense, the frustration.
We didn't talk about A.J. Brown. We didn't get to that.
Well, you talked about it a little bit, right? I mean, all right, so give me a final point. A.J. Brown, what are you seeing there?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of people who are saying A.J. lost a step. There's a lot of people who are saying, and I agree with this point, well, he wants the ball. There have been times that, he gave up on the pass and didn't put enough effort or energy into it. And I agree with that. I've seen that, and that's what it looks like. Because, yeah, if you're hollering for the ball and you're requesting the ball and you're reading books on the sideline and you're giving cryptic messages on social media, you got to be tight when you're game. You got to be 100% with your game, and he hasn't been. But my opinion is that he's hurt. I believe he's struggling with that hamstring. Yeah, because I've been in the same situation. My third year in Philadelphia, it was said the same thing about me. Oh, he lost a step. He doesn't have it anymore. Well, I was playing with a broken big toe. I never told anybody. Nobody knew. I didn't tell anybody, and the reason I didn't tell anybody was because I was a little bit older. I was 34 years old at the time, and they were ready to put older guys out of the league. They're ready to cut you. So I played that whole year. I broke my toe, my big toe, the second game of the season, and I got it shot up every week, and I didn't tell anybody that it was broken. And A.J. Brown had a hamstring problem last season at the end of the season, missed a few games, comes back in training camp. Training camp ain't that hard. It's not that hard. He missed some days in training camp because of the hamstring. And then a couple of weeks ago, he missed a game or two because of the same hamstring. He's not healthy. That's why he's not moving the way we've seen him move and doing the things that he's done in the past, jumping and running over guys and being real strong and being real aggressive. He's not healthy. That's what's going on with him.
That's a really, really, really great take and really great observation, because maybe that is the case. And when he was asked about it this week, about, maybe losing a step or something going on, he's like, well, maybe Saquon did as well, because Saquon has not played up to that level. So that is a great point, and maybe that is the case. At the end of the day, I still keep going back to the Eagles are winning. Could it be better? Yes. Hopefully the best is yet to come with this offense, and they can go on this magical run that everyone believes this team is capable of doing. Well, Irving Fryer, we appreciate you joining us. 5-time Pro Bowler, former Eagles receiver. We appreciate you joining us here on BetPARX Saturday, live from the Sportsbook at the Parx Casino. Irv, thank you so much for the great insight.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for thinking about me, brother.
Absolutely. Great having you. Eagles, Cowboys tomorrow, 4:25, 8-2 Eagles getting set. Of course, they are the favorites to beat the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. Irving Fryer picking the Birds to win. How could you not pick the Eagles to win this game? They beat them earlier this season to open the season. Jalen Carter, he was ejected from that game. Hopefully he's a factor. Dak Prescott kind of joked earlier this week saying, I may not really talk to Jalen Carter unless he talks to me first. We'll see how the whole situation develops. Pre-game tomorrow afternoon in Dallas, Texas. All right, let's talk about the Eagles being favorites in this game. Let's bring in Brad Feinberg, our pro sports betting analyst. He's a great follow on X at Brad's Best Bets. Brad, how are you doing today?
Good, Jeff. I was not right though last week. I know you were talking about the under in Philadelphia, Detroit. You were correct. You were correct, my friend. And that game went way under the total. So good call by you last week when we talked about it. I thought the game was over, but it was pretty evident early on with the wind and whatnot. That was the wrong side.
Yeah,
it wasn't even close.
Brad, I thought about that. I'm like, good thing I didn't put any money down on that. But I think that's the case with this football team, and that's why it feels like this football team, when you look at where the line is, when you look at this team week in and week out, when they are the favorites in just about every game, is this a hard team to bet on because the way this team has played, and they haven't played up to expectations, at least offensively?
Jeff, again, I keep giving the comparison because it's what I always think about. You know how when you're a kid or whatever, when you're an adult, and you'd see like when a car is stolen, right? What they do with the car, they chop it up into pieces where they sell the engine here, the car door here. And why do they do that? Because the individual parts are worth more than the total car. To me, that is the Eagles' offense, Jeff. Is Saquon Barkley good? Yes. Is A.J. Brown good? Yes. Is Devonta Smith good? Yes. Is Jalen Hurts good? Yes. Is Dallas Goedert good? Yes. But together, oh my God, it's like going to the dentist with no Novocaine. It's just been awful. And individually, you would think everything is good, but just for whatever reason, collectively, and listen, Jeff, I'm not a coach where I can dissect what is going on exactly, but I find it shocking, and there's no other word I can use other than shocking, that none of their coaching staff has been able to figure out, okay, here's exactly what's going on wrong. Here's what exactly we need to do. I was on with Anthony Gargano, his show, and I said, if I was them, Jeff, I'd go no tempo, no huddle. Okay, listen, let's just, because what they're doing is the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing time and time again. What they're doing offensively, Jeff, is just torture to watch.
Yeah, and that's what I want to ask you. So are there safe bets with the Eagles? Because you look at the over/under with the Eagles this week. You look at they're the favorites. Are they dangerous to bet on because they're so unpredictable offensively and they have won games in different fashions?
Well, Jeff, there's actually a couple bets I really like here this week with the Eagles. Number one, and I bet it at the open at 81.5. It's down to 74.5. I still like it at that, but again, you missed the great number of 81.5. I love Saquon Barkley under 81.5 rushing yards. Love. The only way I lose this bet, and I lost it with Derrick Henry the other week, I took his under like 80.5 against Cleveland. He had like 18 carries for 40 yards, was doing nothing. Then he ripped off, Derrick Henry's a great player, he ripped off a 50-yard run, I lose. To me, same thing with this. Unless Saquon rips off one of those which he can do, he can rip off 3 50-yard runs. He did it last year every week, seemingly. But unless he rips off one of those big runs, I will predict this, Jeff, that let's say, I'm going to say 80% of his runs are 4 yards or less. I really think he will be stoned. Dallas getting Quinion Williams. Their run defense is actually going to be good now. Eagles can't run the ball anyway. There gets to be a point where you have to say, this is my new reality. You can keep thinking it's going to change, and that's fine, but it's really not going to. And to me, they're making Barkley, they're still lining him like it's the Barkley of last year. Clearly, it's not. And I would be very surprised if he gets to. I'll be very surprised if he gets to 75 yards.
Yeah, and look, teams have been stacking the box, and I think kind of the model has been what the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl is to let's take away Saquon Barkley and let Jalen Hurts beat us. And look, if you would just look at the Eagles' stats offensively and say, all right, well, if I were to just look at that, I would and see where they're sitting, that the Eagles would not be a very good football team. But that's not the case. They're finding ways to win. So what are your safe bets for the Eagles as we sit here live on BetPARX Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook at Parx Casino in Ben Salem? What are your safe bets with the Eagles? Do you have any this week, or are you a nervous Nelly with giving out advice on the Eagles right now?
Never. No, Jeff, you can't be scared if you're doing what I'm doing. You can't be scared. Listen, the best in the world are going to be wrong 46% of the time. So I know that. I know that. I don't care how good. You hit 54% your first ballot Hall of Fame. A couple things I like. Dak Prescott's over-unders around 245.5. I like his under, actually. Two reasons I like his under. One, I think the Eagles' defense right now is playing at a total elite level. I know they have the two dominant wide receivers. I get it, but I actually trust this Eagles defense a lot right now. I think this game is going to go under the total. I think it's going to be a really close, lower scoring game because, again, to me, their defense, Eagles defense, Jeff, has been as bad as except for the Giants game, where they're missing a lot of guys. I was at that game. That was just a horrible game. Besides that one game, their defense has played really, really, really well. And just Dallas, to me, though, Jeff, I will say this. Their team, their variance to me is probably the widest of any team in the NFL. What I mean by that, I feel like they could beat Kansas City, they could beat Philadelphia, they could beat Detroit, they could beat Denver, and they could lose to freaking New Orleans. That's how I see Dallas. Very wide range of outcomes with them. I did bet Dallas plus 4.5. It's down to 3 now. Still lean, actually, Dallas plus 3. I think it's a 50-50 game. I will predict this game, Jeff, comes down to the last play. That's how I feel. I think it'll be really. I said the same about the Green Bay game. I said the Green Bay game will come down to the last play. More or less did. I think this game will come down to the last play. I don't know who's going to win. The Eagles are clearly the better team, but it's not as simple as that sometimes where the better team always wins. The Eagles are the better team, but again, Dallas needs this game for blood. I think it's going to be a very close game. It comes down to the end, but I think Dallas taking points has a little bit of value.
Is there a fun player prop or a prop bet that you like for this Eagles-Cowboys game?
Well, again, I don't know if they're fun because I'm going on. It's never fun to take rooting against human achievements. Never fun. That's what I do. But again, I did take Dak under 245 and a half, 246, something like that. And I bet.
Yeah, he's been good this year, so that's interesting. He's been good this year.
Oh, Dak's been great.
Yeah.
Oh, Dak's been terrific. But again, he's averaging, Jeff, around 254 yards, 75 yards or whatnot. But that's against the average bear, so to speak. This is not an average bear opponent. This is a much harder opponent from a pass perspective wise. And I just think that's a lot of yards for a guy that, as good as he's been, I think the Eagles defense has been great. Again, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I really, really do. I happen to think that it's going to be lower scoring. I cannot really back any Eagles offensively at all, Jeff, and any overs because I cannot trust this offense. So for me, again, under Saquon, under Dak, Cowboys +3, probably can get 3.5 laying a little extra juice. Those would be my three favorite things from this game.
I do want to ask you about this. This came out yesterday. Former Temple leading scorer Heiser Miller banned permanently by the NCAA for betting on his team. The NCAA says an investigation showed the Philadelphia native placed dozens of bets on Temple Owls games, including some against his own team. As sports betting is more mainstream today than it ever has been, how dangerous do you think this can be for the entire business model? I mean, the sports leagues are business partners with casino companies and gambling companies now. Do you think that changes could be made to prevent these things? Because we're seeing this pop up here and there. Do you think prop bets could go away at some point because of these type of situations?
Jeff, great question. It almost reminds me, like, you're younger than me, but like about when cell phones first came out, like very few people
I'm not
had
that
cell
young.
phones in there.
I'm not that young.
Oh, you look good. Handsome guy, you look good to me.
Lots of makeup.
Yeah, exactly. But no, when cell phones first came out, not many people had them. And then as time went on, more and more people, now everyone has a cell phone. To me, that is what sports gambling is, Jeff. Like when it first came out, I remember my dad, when people are like, well, what does your son do? He'd go, sports gambling? My son bets. You know, like it was like whispering, like now he's like, oh, my son is a sports bet. And then whenever I meet people like, oh my God, tell me what they're excited about it. It's become much more mainstream and accepted in society as opposed to what it was. But what comes with that is what you just said. When something is more mainstream, it gives a chance, Jeff, for more shenanigans, so to speak, to happen. Will the prop stuff, and the thing is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Don't know if that'll happen because it's such a, when you take away billions, and it's now billions of dollars of revenue on something, you're going to get pushback. And whether it's pushback / kickback, whatever has to be done to keep that market open, I'm going to say no, it doesn't close, because if you do close it, it's going to cost a lot of people a lot of money. And those people who are trying to make a lot of money are going to find a way to use their friends, whoever friends there are in those positions, to make sure that it continues. But when you see, I think what happened to Emmanuel Clase, Jeff, is a good thing in that if that doesn't open up your eyes, and Jonte Porter, if you're a professional athlete, like whatever I do, like I had a sports service, Jeff, where for about almost a year, and I stopped it for various reasons. But I remember I saw someone in Florida at a casino, and guy saw what I was betting, and he goes, asked me questions. I knew the guy played in the NFL. He goes, "Can I start buying your picks?" I'm like, "Dude, what are you doing, man? You're." He's like, "No, I got it. Don't worry." I'm like, "Hey, man, you can't do that, man." And it's, hopefully there's an education system, I know, Jeff, where people come in and they talk to these players about the pitfalls of everything, right? Gambling and financial investments and whatnot. Hopefully, as sports gambling is becoming more and more prevalent, and it's not going to go away, they learn. It's the 11th commandment. You cannot You cannot, whatever you do, you cannot do any of this stuff, or it's going to ruin your life. Literally, it's not an overstatement.
Right, and
So-
obviously, Pete Rose became the poster child of that, but that was also before things became, as I said, way more mainstream with sports betting and the leagues and TV companies and broadcast companies are now business partners with gambling, and it is mainstream. I mean, you look behind me, the place is packed here at PARX Casino as we are live at BetPARX Saturdays from the sports book in Ben Salem at PARX Casino. It's packed, right? And there is a lot of people who enjoy it. And I think now also with NIL, especially in college, guys are trying to make money, and that temptation to make money is a real thing, right? I mean, guys don't know if they're going to make it to the next level. Most people don't, and that is the challenge, obviously, of what's going on. So, all right, one last thing.
But no,
for
Jeff, let me just say one last
go
thing.
ahead.
Let me say one last thing about this. I will say this. You mentioned Pete Rose. When Pete was doing what he was doing, Jeff, to me, it was 1,000 times easier. When I say 1,000, it was 100,000 times easier to do what he was doing and get away with it than today. Because, Jeff, what's happened is because it's so mainstream, there's watchdogs everywhere. And the one thing that you will get, like when someone's betting $200,000 on John Tate Porter's points, Jeff, and there's usually an average volume of 2,000, and it goes to 200,000 in a day. Think about it, Jeff. And there's people monitoring this, right? You're going to get caught. You are going to get caught. So as opposed to back when Pete was doing it, there wasn't the watchdog eye like there is today. So to me, the good part about this, Jeff, is I think it'll be harder and harder and harder to get away with it because there's so many more eyes on you as opposed to 30 years ago.
And listen, that is a great point. So let's make one last great point. Some big college football games today, some matchups you're keeping an eye on, and some bets that you potentially like in the college football world.
Well, it's like, definitely have some more pro.
Okay, I'll take the pro.
Let's take
the pro.
The college this week, the game I liked best was SMU, and I know that started. But that was kind of like my big college day. But there's a bunch of NFL.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Absolutely.
Jeff, that I think have merit / value or whatnot. Jeff, I'll start off with the Rams playing the Buccaneers. I took 7.5, Jeff, in this game, and I know the Rams are the better team. Now they actually got outplayed thoroughly last week, and I do mean thoroughly by Seattle. But Sam Darnold just played an all-time bad game. Because of that, they won. They held Stafford like 130 yards passing. They couldn't move the ball on that team at all. I think Baker can keep this game within a touchdown. Do I think the Rams are the better team? Of course I do. But I thought that line's been closer to 6, maybe 6.5. 7.5, a little too rich for me. Arizona playing Jacksonville. I think it's a 50-50 game, Jeff. I don't know who's going to win. I don't pretend to know who's going to win. But I think taking 3 points in the game, that should be a true coin flip. I think there's value. Detroit Lions, Jeff, going against the Giants. 2 things I bet here. I love Detroit over 30.5 team points. Giants defense, I thought was going to be good. It's been anything but. And I like Detroit to absolutely, what we know, Jeff, when Detroit plays bad teams at home, they rout those teams.
Yeah, and look, and you know what happened to the Lions last week in Philadelphia on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. Yeah. They could put up a 50 spot on the Giants.
I was waiting, Jeff. I really wanted to make sure that there was no Jackson Dart. I wanted to make sure it was Jameis, because to me, Dart scares the bejesus out of me. Jameis not only doesn't scare the bejesus out of me, I want him. He gives me Jesus to him. I want Jameis. If I'm betting against him, Jameis to me, he's gonna make turnovers. I really think the Lions, Jeff. Here's my bold call. Lions will be covering this one at halftime. Okay. I'll give you another game, Jeff. Atlanta against New Orleans. You may hold your nose like, Brad, how do you like a game like this? Well, I think, Jeff, the artist formerly known as Kirk Cousins, kind of like the artist formerly known as Prince. I think Kirk Cousins had a good career, solid career, made more money than any quarterback in history of the NFL, crazily enough. But I think he is done and is washed as washed can get. Not that New Orleans is great, they're certainly not. But without Drake London, I think Cousins is shot. I think there's a few games of the year you think you can win. This is one of them for New Orleans. You could say the same thing for Atlanta too. I get it, but this line I thought opened 2.5 for Atlanta. I bet heavily on the Saints getting 2.5. I thought it would flip to 2 the other way. That's what's happened. I still think even laying 2, Jeff. I really think that New Orleans finds a way to win this game. I really, really do.
All right, Brad Feinberg, pro sports betting analyst, our expert here on BetPARX Saturdays live from the Sportsbook at Parx Casino in Ben Salem. Brad, we appreciate you joining us today. Some great insight, and we'll see how those picks work out. Tomorrow. And I won't hold you to anything. Where I'm not, you're not responsible for.
No, take it. Listen, you take the good with the bad. But Jeff, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad. A great follow on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Brad's Best Bets. Great insight there as we continue talking about the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys here live on BetPARX Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook at Parx Casino in Ben Salem. I'm Jeff Skversky alongside Andrew Frazier. Let's talk about this. A little quick break as we have here in the show. Give the gift of the entertainment this holiday season. Tickets to see national headliners at the Excite Center at Parx Casino. They make a great gift for this holiday season, which is right around the corner. Parx Casino has something for everyone's entertainment, their taste, and here's your lineup. Saturday, January 17th, Classic Rockers Grand Funk Railroad. Friday, January 30th, 16-time Grammy winner David Foster and Catherine McPhee. Saturday, January 31st, the Marshall Tucker Band and Jefferson Starship. And then we have Friday, February 6th, the Broadway star Alan Cumming, Uncut, his new one-man cabaret show. Then Saturday, February 7th, the Piano Men, Generations, a tribute to the Elton John and Billy Joel show. And then a big one coming, March 14th, a Saturday, comedian Tracy Morgan. Of course, you know him from Saturday Night Live. Saturday, April 4th, comedian Kathleen Madigan will be here, the Day Drinking Tour. Then followed by April 18th, Melissa Etheridge. Tickets still available for December shows. The a cappella sounds of Straight No Chaser on December 5th, as well as December 6th. Comedian Ken Jeong from the movie The Hangover. You love those hangover movies. So you can see Ken Jeong. He will be here as well at Parx Casino. ParxCasino.com, entertainment to buy tickets. Of course, you must be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So let's bring in Andrew Frazier. Andrew, any thoughts from what you've heard from Irving Fryer as well as Brad Feinberg, our first two guests in the first hour, as we dive into the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, if I was to summarize everything I just heard is, don't worry, they're winning. Let's keep going with it.
I think you're the only one that feels that way, other than us sitting here. I mean, the fan base, even some of the Eagles, are nervous Nellies about this football team. But again, I do believe that they will be just fine. At the end of the day, they will play their best football when it matters most.
Of course. And it's Dallas. Look, like you said, the defense, they're ranked 30th right now. This offense, this Eagles offense, should be able to put points up. Now, are we going to get a big scoring game? Probably not. There's still going to be some woes in this offense. But I would be shocked if they don't put more than 20 points up in this game on Sunday.
I agree. I agree. And I think this is going to be a coming out party for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, we did have some breaking news that came in just moments ago from the Philadelphia Eagles. And it is a good sign for Jalen Hurts in this offense. And Eagles center Cam Jurgens, he has been upgraded to a no injury status for tomorrow in Dallas. So that means Eagles center Cam Jurgens is good to go. The other note, not a big deal, but Eagles receiver Devontae Smith, he's going to travel separately with the team for some personal reasons. He has a no-game status. Everything should be good to go with Devontae Smith, the Eagles, who I believe is the Eagles' best center on this football team. But that is good. Again, the Eagles will be without Lane Johnson with that foot injury. So I think the Eagles will be okay. Look, the Eagles, hopefully they get that win. So they get that win. Do we have...
Well, Dave.
All right, so we're going to go to our next guest. So let's get in, and so let's just clear something up. We were going to have Brad Sham, the longtime Dallas Cowboys play-by-play guy on. We were having some technical difficulties getting him up here live from Dallas through some of our technology. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Sixers. And there's a lot to get to there. Joel Embiid has missed 6 straight games with that knee injury. He still has knee soreness, so he's going to miss tomorrow against the Miami Heat again. And it really just feels like Groundhog's Day to me. It's been very frustrating. He has all the potential in the world, but cannot stay healthy. And the Sixers, they just have not been able to get consistent lineups out there around him. And we've had Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler and James Harden and Paul George. The lineups have never been consistent. They cannot get a full season with anyone, whether it's Joel or anyone around him. And the frustration mounts. I mean, you talk about the frustration with the Eagles, but the frustration with the Sixers, they haven't been out of the second round since 2001. And everything we've been through the last decade plus with Sam Hinkie and the injuries, and but I do look at it like this. Joel Embiid, I'm not convinced can ever stay healthy. Ever. And I question his work ethic. Stuff came out last year with Tyrese Maxey saying that Joel was late for everything, and that's a problem. And I just don't think Joel has great body language. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm reading into it too much, but for a superstar and the caliber that Joel Embiid talent-wise has, his body language is awful. And the days he's injured, there's times he's not on the bench with the team. I think that sends a bad message. I want to see Joel involved, engaged, and I just don't see it. And I do wonder, is it time to just move on from Joel Embiid, as hard as that is to say? Because when you look at his stats, when you look at his numbers, you're like, oh, okay, he's a Hall of Famer, right? But he's missed 400 games, and as much the pain and the struggle as it is to watch Joel Embiid, you just go, is it just time to just walk away from this and wipe your hands? They seem to have a young, exciting nucleus with Tyrese Maxey, who, in my opinion, is more of a leader than Joel. VJ Edgecombe, and I know it's early, but he has this excitement and this bounce in his step, and you don't know how it's going to work out with VJ, but I think he could be something special, and Tyrese Maxey certainly is. But I just think this is going nowhere. This Joel Embiid thing has run its course to me, and again, his body language, he just doesn't have that killer instinct to me, and I know the injuries have played a toll on his mental health and his ability to be that special player, but you think about all the injuries, the fractured foot, the meniscus tear, the orbital fracture, the knee tendonitis, dislocated finger, partially torn meniscus, orbital fracture, sprained knee, torn meniscus, Bell's palsy, sinus fracture, sprained foot, left knee surgery. My goodness. And maybe some of it's his fault. Maybe some of it is just really bad luck. But man, oh man, it has been tough to watch. And look, having said all of that, maybe they will get it together. That has kind of been the broken record year after year, that, okay, he'll finally get healthy in time for the playoffs. Brett Brown used to talk about delivering Joel Embiid and the Sixers to the playoffs. It just hasn't happened. So I did want to just get some insight on the Sixers situation in the NBA, and so we're joined by one of the most respected voices covering the NBA, ESPN national reporter and Philadelphia native, Dave McMenamin. He's been covering the NBA for nearly 2 decades. He's a New York Times bestseller author. And we're putting it all on the table. The last decade, the Sixers rebuild, Joel Embiid's future with the Sixers. Could Joel Embiid be traded? What would that look like? We talked to Dave McMenamin about that from ESPN, plus Tyrese Maxey's rise and LeBron James playing an unprecedented 23rd NBA season. Here's an interview we taped with Dave McMenamin yesterday on BetPARX Saturdays. Take a listen. Dave, what's happening? How are you?
I'm doing well, Jeff. How are you?
I'm okay. I want to get into this thing with the Sixers. It seems to be this never-ending drama from Joel Embiid. They can't get out of the second round. When you look back at this entire, let's say, run for the last decade plus, do you think the way they approached the rebuild, do you consider it a failure, or would you not go that drastic with it?
Well, I guess because it hasn't finished yet, I will not give the F stamp on the document, but it's trending in that direction. Obviously, what Sam Hinkie did was so extreme, but the light at the end of the tunnel was supposed to be a sustainable model of a perennial championship contender. And I understand that Hinkie's vision was had the plug pulled on it early, but even so, to endure, which I had a problem with as a former Sixers fan growing up, to put
What
your
do you mean
fan base through
former?
that.
What do you mean
Well, you know,
former?
I've been covering the NBA for 21
I
years
know,
now.
I know.
I kind of had to put the Sixers fandom on the shelf. My little brother Jeff, he carries the torch for all of our family with the Sixers fandom. I get texts about the team all the time, but I think to put the fan base through something like that, and then on the back end, you don't even get a conference finals appearance out of it, it would be trending towards a failure. Now, that said, if by some grace of the man above, the Sixers can get into the playoffs and Joel Embiid can be healthy for 25 games with the growth of Tyrese Maxey, with the great sensational rookie VJ Edgecombe, perhaps even with a healthy Paul George, who looked somewhat a version of himself when he came back to the court this week. Maybe that's why we gotta have the jury still out, and the Eastern Conference is kind of there to be had this spring.
I look at this and it just feels like Groundhog's Day. I mean, Embiid's been out the last, 6 games. As we talk right now, it's the same thing. Is he playing? Is he not playing? Do they have chemistry with whatever group that they have? I mean, they've gone through all of it, from Ben Simmons to Markelle Fultz to, Jimmy Butler and James Harden and now Paul George. And they just never have this group that is just kind of going like this. And you look at the best teams in the NBA, they're all playing together. They have seasons together, I feel like. And you just don't have this drama just over and over. And I know it does make, in some way, the perfect Philly story, because there's always drama around the Philly teams.
Yeah.
Having said that, it just feels like it's Groundhog's Day. And I'm curious, from your point of view, covering the league and having a feel for the league, is it that perspective on a national level as well, that the Sixers are just this forgotten team that is just stuck in the mud?
Well, I actually think because there's been this kind of repetition of tough luck or bad decision making over this era, I'm surprised that we're still in this era, because most teams around the league are not given the gestation period where they're allowed to have multiple instances of bad luck or multiple instances of poor management and still kind of look the same. There has been rumblings about Daryl Morey's job security, about Nick Nurse's job security, yet they're still in place right now. And lo and behold, I mentioned Edgecombe, you're getting McCann back, and he was another bright spot in a lost season last year. They are not completely out of it. And I think maybe they could be, if they are able to get this together. And I know that's a big if, but if they are able to get it together, if Joel Embiid is able to look like the MVP he once was, even if it's for a half a season plus a playoff run, then they will become an example of maybe this is why you should be patient, versus pulling the plug and completely changing up the deck.
What is your surprise level on the fact that they have not been able to get out of the second round? And what do you think the perspective is around the league, that the Sixers, with so much talent, with Embiid, who, if you look at the stats, come on, like, he's a Hall of Famer probably, even though, he's missed 400 games. But what do you think this view, if you just zoom out a little bit, I mean, are you surprised that they are just not a team that has been past the second round?
I covered that Sixers Raptors series a few years back. I was working for ESPN and doing Sports Center, and we would do a situation where as soon as the game ended, we'd go out onto the court with a camera crew and would be granted an interview with a player from the winning team for a couple questions live, the tape on camera. And so I was staged right below the basket, and
Where
looking to my
Kawhi,
left when Kawhi
yeah.
made the shot that bounced 4 times on the rim. I'm on the court. I'm interviewing Marc Gasol, and Joel Embiid's weeping, and Gasol is trying to comfort him before we go live. They were that close, right? And obviously, everyone would look back at it and say, "You decided to pay Tobias Harris versus Jimmy Butler, a terrible decision."
But yeah, but there look,
Again,
there was, I don't want to cut you off, but there was
right.
more to that, right? Like Jimmy, in my mind, and from everyone I've talked to, like Jimmy was going to, like Jimmy wanted to go to Miami. Like I
Right.
know I feel like that's been played up. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that's been played up throughout the news. But Jimmy wanted to go to Miami. Like, you know,
Well, of course, I mean, obviously, and the proof is in the pudding, the decision that he made. However, I and maybe you could say the Sixers did that because they could already sense that that's what Jimmy was going to do, and you don't want to lose both the players. But Jamie has certainly let it be known subsequent to that decision that he wasn't a huge fan of them deciding to go with Tobias. And so whether that was him versus Tobias or whether that was maybe this is an example of the way the organization is being run, I'd rather be somewhere else. And obviously he led the Heat to 2 finals appearances once he went down to Miami. I'm not fully sure there, but even still, my point being they were so close, and the Eastern Conference that they stand in today, the Indiana Pacers made the playoffs last year. The Heat made the playoffs, made the finals last year. The Heat made the finals as an 8 seed a couple years back. Milwaukee is obviously beatable, as we saw the Sixers result earlier this week. The Knicks are flawed. The Cavs are flawed. And so, they are still in the mix. It would not shock me if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. It also wouldn't shock me if they lost in the first round. And that's kind of the razor's edge they're on right now. And it will come down to whether, these role players like, Quentin Grimes, et cetera, will continue to be a bright spot the way they've shown. And especially they can still be that guy if and when Joel Embiid returns to form.
would you be surprised if the Sixers were to trade Joel Embiid? Could you see that
I'd be
potentially
more
happening?
surprised that they would find a trade partner
Well, that was
for
my
him.
next question. I mean,
Yeah.
what would be the trade market for Joel?
There's so much money still in the books for him and so many health concerns that I would have a hard time seeing it come to that unless there was a buyout agreement that would lead him to go to another team. But why would Joel Embiid be motivated to take a buyout when he has so many years guaranteed left on his deal? I mean, the thing that I love about the NBA in terms of the players' union, it has fought for the rights of its players to be paid guaranteed contracts, versus something like the NFL where it's a signing bonus and then the contract is kind of moot after that. I think that's great work by the NBPA to do that. However, on the back end of it, when you have some of these long deals and you have a player that could end up being a shell of what he once was, it kind of just becomes dead money on the shelf. And at the same time, I don't really blame Joel for not wanting to pursue a buyout. I mean, if it comes to that,
Sure,
if
sure.
you, if it comes to
Right.
that, I'm covering the Lakers day to day this season. DeAndre Ayton is on the team right now. He gave up close to $30 million to be able to go to the Lakers, and now kind of a put up or show up or shut up type of season, right? So far it's looking good, but he had to sacrifice $30 million to give himself a chance to do that. I don't know that type of stuff to me, as someone who kind of more on the side of the players generally in these labor disputes. I don't think it's great for having a player to have to be kind of put in that moral quandary from a fan base or from a reporter base to you better do that.
Right.
You signed on the dotted line, the team willingly gave you that money.
I just sense the frustration with Embiid that it just the overall, I feel like feeling around Embiid is we're just sick of it. And I understand that. And when I look at Embiid, and maybe this is just an eye test, that I look at him and he does not look like he is happy. Like he just does not have great body language. And I don't know, maybe that's just me and the way I view the situation. But when I watch him over the years, and I know it's been tough with the injuries and he's had stuff in his personal life. But when I look at Embiid, like I just don't see a guy that it just doesn't seem like it's there. I mean, there's been, eating habit stories coming out and Tyrese Maxey calling him out, according to, ESPN. When you look at it, just doesn't look like he has great body language. Do you think that's accurate, or would you say that is just maybe something that I see?
No, I mean, listen, I'm not going to dismiss your observation. I do think it is chicken or the egg, though. Is he in a bad mood because of the situation he's in, or is it because he's injured and that takes a toll on
Sure.
someone, and it's really difficult to then get to a good mental space when your body's not cooperating and it's all happening while there are people like you and I who are literally employed to talk about the situation you're in. Like it's just kind of a stunted situation to be in, and to be in it over and over and over again. It's one thing to go through a season of injuries, and I've covered many players, and they'll look back at it and be like, man, that was the worst time. I was such a bad space. But
Right.
then to have it happen over and over and over again, I certainly have empathy for that situation. Also, though, this is a sport that is predicated on wins and losses, and it's pretty cutthroat at the end of the day. And I can understand um, folks that are so invested in a team as fans, and want them to succeed, and then see a guy who perhaps doesn't look all that happy to be there, and you wonder, is that having an effect on others? We watch, I mean, Tyrese Maxey's smile jumps off the screen.
Right.
He seems to like relish every single breath that he takes.
Right.
Would you want the influence of a Joel Embiid around him, or is there a possibility to turn the page and hand the keys over to Maxey?
Well, it feels like it's headed in that direction. I mean, he scores a career high 54 the other night. I mean, he brings so much energy to the court, on and off the court. And one of the things that Maxey said earlier this season was, in the offseason, he texted the entire team, hey, I'm going to go work out at 6 a.m. if anyone wants to come by. And VJ Edgecombe, he said, basically was the only one that came by. And look, I don't want to read too much into that, because was Joel Embiid out of town, or were other guys out of
Yeah,
town?
yeah.
And so I don't want to just make a grand statement, because that's not fair. At the same time, there's so many things that have come into question with Joel's work ethic and things like that, and his eating habits and his weight and the injuries. And I understand he can't control all of it, but I just go, is it time to say, okay, Maxey is the guy? And look, whatever it takes to win, right? And is this team right now, the way it's constructed, going to make an NBA Finals run without Joel Embiid? I don't think that's the case.
No.
But when you look at the young guys, Edgecombe and Maxey, I mean, that appears to be, the future.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly the future. I do think if you look at the 2024 Olympics, the U.S. team's performance in Paris, Joel Embiid took on a vastly different role than he was accustomed to, leading the Sixers and being an MVP in the NBA. And he was very effective. And
Right.
maybe that is an example of, if he can get to a baseline of health, he wouldn't necessarily have to take the same role and still be very effective. I mean, really, just defensively, the amount of space he takes up, his ability to be a weak side defender and protect the rim, even because he's so big, I don't think he necessarily needs as much of a quick burst or as much of his leaping ability that may have atrophied with this current injury situation. There's a scenario where he can still be like a huge piece and a leader without being the guy that he was before. And so we'll see. But even if that is the case, we are looking at a dwindling prime, or if not even prime, a dwindling level of effectiveness period as an NBA player. And so you look to the future, and you say, man, for all of the mistakes that this front office has made in its different iterations, for some of the bad trades, for some of the bad draft choices, they got it right with Maxey, they got it right with Edgecombe, and that's a pretty good place to be moving forward.
Absolutely. And, you could make the argument that Maxey could be an MVP candidate right now, the way he's played. And you look at his numbers, if you stack them next to Allen Iverson's 2000,
Yeah.
2001 numbers, I mean, they're right there. Now, look, I mean, you cover Luka Doncic every day, and he's having an unbelievable start to this season. But do you think Maxey is in that conversation for MVP, or do you think?
Yeah, I think he's just in the secondary conversation. It's hard to have a real candidacy for him in the same breath as you mentioned, Luka. I would say Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like, I think the four of those guys are a notch above him, but then he's right there. And then if something was to happen to one of those other guys, or if their team started to not win as much as they are right now, I think if he continues the way he's playing and the Sixers continue to be in the top four of the Eastern Conference standings, then I think, yeah, it's a legitimate conversation. Where the thing is, I think it's very much headed towards is making an all NBA team, which is very impressive. Like, look at any year in NBA history, look at the all NBA team. That gives us your slice of what you need to know in terms of the most impactful players in the league. And that is the class that he belongs in right now, which is very impressive.
You say you're not a fan anymore, having covered the league for 20 years or whatever. But is a part of you amazed to see LeBron James return for a 23rd season? Never happened before in NBA history. I mean, is that covering him on a daily basis and knowing his work ethic? Is that amaze you if you can just take a step back?
Yeah, it certainly does. And listen, I was fortunate enough to cover Kobe earlier for 6 years, from 2008 to 2014, and he had kind of been the guy to redefine what it meant to still be dominant late in your prime, leading up to the Achilles injury, of course. But he was like 36, 35 when that was happening.
Right.
LeBron was 39 last year, turned 40, and still made an All NBA team. And in his first game back from a 14-game absence, having not played organized basketball in 6 months, has 12 assists, only 11 points, but those 12 assists were spectacular. Like, he was in full command of the Lakers offense the other night against Utah Jazz. So it's cool to see that. It's cool for me. I'm always been. I was an overall sports fan growing up, but basketball was always the sport that really spoke to me the most. I still play. I played it this morning, or yesterday morning, I have to say, for a couple hours. It's kind of like my reason for living in a way. He still has that much passion for the game of basketball, and that to me is something that I do enjoy, and I do, you know, I wouldn't say get fandom out of, but I get a lot of appreciation being able to cover a guy like that because he doesn't take it for granted, and he really loves it. Like, he loves the game of basketball.
Last thing for you, covering the Lakers. I know he was asked about it maybe a week or so ago when Nico Harrison was fired, but could you see a scenario where Luka Doncic does go back to the Dallas Mavericks? I mean, could you see a scenario where he would go back there? I mean, he's a guy that wears his emotions on his sleeve, and I feel like he has a tell where you kind of, he kind of gives a tell. But what is your opinion, having covered him? Do you think there's a scenario where he would go back to Dallas?
I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. Obviously, I was covering the NBA when LeBron left for Miami. Dan Gilbert wrote a scathing letter, and basically called him a traitor and said all sorts of things, right? And 4 years later, LeBron James came back to Cleveland for LeBron James, because
Sure.
LeBron
Right.
wanted to do that for himself. He said, "I don't care who the owner is. I don't care the other scenario, or the things that happened in the past." There's a quote that him and his friends, and his, like, Rich Paul and Randy Mims and Maverick Carter, they used to kind of get them through that time period and make sense with what they were doing. They said this has to be about progress over pride. Yeah, his pride side said, "I would never play for that guy Dan Gilbert again," but the progress side of him said, "There's still something left that I want to accomplish there," and perhaps Luka Doncic, who is much like LeBron, has loyalty as a main tenet of his personality. He has the same three friends in Slovenia that he's had since he was 10 years old, and they're his people. He may decide that before I walk away from the NBA, I want to go play for the fan base of Dallas again because there was unfinished business. I could see that. But it wouldn't be him returning to play to Dallas to play for Patrick Dumont. They're that owner, and Luka Doncic basically have no relationship at this point. And I don't think it will be a situation where that bridge gets repaired. It would just be Luka saying, "I'm aware of the things that exist there, and I'm going to go do it for myself. That said, he's enjoying life as a Laker right now, and I don't think any scenario like that would happen anytime soon.
Yeah, he's leading the NBA in points. He looks slim. He does look happy, and he is balling out right now. Dave, thank you so much. Great insight on the Sixers, Joel Embiid, and of course the Lakers.
Thanks, Jeff.
That was ESPN national NBA reporter Dave McMenamin. Great insight, as I said there. And you wonder, could the Sixers trade Embiid? I mean, look, Luka Doncic, nobody thought that would happen. Could Embiid be the next domino to fall as far as blockbuster trades? Certainly some obstacles there, but it is interesting to see. That could be on the table at some point as this injury situation continues to grow. And it came out a short time ago that Embiid still has that knee soreness. He's heading in the right direction, but again, we've heard this before. So, he's not going to play tomorrow against Miami. Dave McMenamin covers the Lakers for the NBA. Lakers, of course, will be in Philadelphia December 7th. Well, of course, it is a big fall sports weekend. Whether your favorite team wins or not, let's hope the Birds win tomorrow. There's always another way to win on the BetPARX app. Live bet while you watch weekend sports. It makes watching the game that much more fun. Live betting is better than ever on the BetPARX app. Some skin in the game. You can get some with the BetPARX app, the Philly sports fans' choice to bet on sports and to play classic casino games, blackjack, craps, and much more. You name it. This Saturday, a full card of college football. Penn State, 8.5-point underdog hosting Nebraska. Michigan, 14-point favorite at Maryland. Michigan State underdog to Iowa. Sunday Pro Football. Birds, 3-point favorites over the Cowboys. Over under 47.5. We talked about that with Brad Feinberg. Pittsburgh Pro Football, now a 2.5 road underdog to the Chicago Bears, who will be here next week in Philadelphia on Black Friday. Detroit, 13-point home favorites hosting New York after they struggled on offense against the Eagles. You're bound to see the Lions break out this Sunday against the Giants. All right, right now, new casino users can get up to $1,000 in casino bonus pack, plus get 250 free spins on the new slot game Tree Wishes, a BetPARX app exclusive. You must be, of course, 21 to gamble in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan. BetPARX.com has terms and conditions you can see there. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's switch gears. Bernie Parent, the greatest goalie in Flyers history, sadly passed away September 21st in his sleep in Avalon. The Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players, not only in Flyers history, but in hockey history. He will always be number one in our hearts. Still holds Flyers records to this day, including most saves. Of course, the famous catchphrase, only the Lord saves more than Bernie Parent. Let's talk about his celebration of life, and to do that, we bring in former Flyers first-round pick Brian Propp, who played 11 seasons for the Flyers. Brian, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
It's good to hear your voice, Brian. Obviously, it was an emotional night last night at the Xfinity Mobile Arena. You were there on hand, hearing lots of speeches, lots of memories and stories being told. Can you just paint a picture for us of what it was like last night as everybody celebrated the life of the one and only Bernie Parent?
Well, they had good speakers, and of course, Bob Clark and Bill Barber and Bill Clement did a really good job. And, Bob Clark finished it with, a great speech. And then just to remember, everyone was getting teared out because it meant so much for Bernie to be part of the fans and the team.
Yeah, and I love what Bob Clark said. He said, quote, "Until we join them, we will walk together forever." It was so powerful, Brian. I mean, I don't know how you did not shed a tear there.
Yeah, well, that's Bob Clark. Like, he's one of the greatest leaders all time. I learned from him when I came to the Flyers. I was really quiet my first couple of years, but then I really learned from him. And we went from there. And then we had good teams in the '80s, and I was good to be part of that. Of course, Bernie got injured the year before. Otherwise, I could have maybe played with him. And then we had the 35 undefeated streak my first year and went to the finals. A good way to get started. But I love Bernie because he had a place in Avalon. We have a place in Seattle City, and then we live we lived in well, I live in Marker Island, Florida, and then he lived in Fort Lauderdale. But I don't know, that might change. But I was really close with him. I was the ambassador for the Flyers every home game with Bernie and myself before COVID, and so he treated me so well.
Yeah, and Brian, I know you didn't play with him. You just missed him there as his career ended and yours started, but he's obviously been around the organization. He was around the organization all the time. What did you learn from Bernie? Even though you didn't play with him, what did you learn from Bernie Perron about how to carry yourself potentially as an NHLer and what it means to be a Philadelphia Flyer?
Well, he was such a good guy, and he was kind of regularly, everybody enjoyed him. Like, he always had his Stanley Cup rings, and so he took pictures with that, where most of the kids were there, and the people loved it. But he always took pictures and signed autographs, and was good to the people, and that's what people remember. He was so good for the Flyers and the fans, and he just was such a great guy, and everybody knew it, and his faith had a lot to do with that, because he read every morning, and he kind of concentrated in the morning, and he did some exercise, and then but he was a great guy, and everybody loves him, and they'll miss him.
Certainly so, and you talked about it there. You hit the nail on the head. He loved showing off those Stanley Cup rings, the two of them. He would let anyone try on those Stanley Cup rings. Did you ever try them on? Was that superstitious for you?
No, I didn't. But he'd always let me. But I was with him a lot of times, and so we kind of knew that we were close together. But it didn't really matter, because I didn't win any Stanley Cups, but I was in 5 finals. But he knew that I was a good player, and he supported me for that. But he was good with people, and he made friends all the time. He gave back a lot of charities, a lot of the charities that I've been part of. He's been part of that too, and so it made it special for everybody there that's trying to raise some money for other charities.
For people that don't know, for the younger generation that did not see Bernie Perron play, can you just tell us just what it was like, just how dominant he was between the pipes?
Yeah, well, he played a lot of games for the Flyers. He only missed 7 or 8 games in the one season, and but the Flyers had good teams, and they won the Stanley Cup in '74 and '75. But he was a stand-up goalie. He didn't flop around like most of the guys now, and he hated that because now the guys get beat over the glove most of the time. So he liked to stand up the green. And so, but he was good with the people, and the goalies that he teached made a difference.
It really did. And what I do love, one of my favorite memories of Bernie was actually the Winter Classic. I don't know if you remember this, suiting up in the Winter Classic alumni game in 2012 at Citizens Bank Park. He made this diving save, and we know Bernie, right? I mean, he's a little dramatic. He's a showman, and he jumped on the puck and he was diving all over the place, and it was so much fun, and it was electrifying for the crowd at Citizens Bank Park. I don't know if you remember that, but that was so much fun to see in that alumni game.
Yeah, I was one of the players in that game, and so I see what was going on. But it was just nice for him to start the game, and the people enjoyed it. And I know Dito, the Ranger player, kind of shot the puck at him, so made a save, which probably made a big difference for the Ranger guys. Do go. So he's been noticed for that, and but he was so good with everybody, and of course the other 2 goalies, Neil and Neil Little, and Trees kind of did a good job after that. The Rangers wanted to win.
Yeah, well, the Rangers, they were nice. You don't see the Rangers and Flyers being very nice together a lot, but they were nice, kind of shooting the puck at him and, kind of giving him a gimme there as he was diving around for that puck in that alumni game. We're talking with former Flyer star Brian Propp. Brian, and this is very simply put, do you have a favorite memory of Bernie Perron that comes to mind?
Yeah, I know that after my stroke 10 years ago, I couldn't talk or walk, So the first words that I said was Bernie Pront, and so he always remembered that, and was he always treated me so good after that, because I should have died like 10 years ago, but like just a memory I have of him saying my name, first words that I said. But he was such a good guy, and I miss him, and I've done a lot of things with him and his wife.
That's an amazing story. Your first words after your stroke was Bernie Perrant. Wow, that is an incredible story. We appreciate you sharing that, and of course, you have made this amazing comeback from that stroke. It's great to see you, great to have you with us. Brian, we appreciate you sharing these amazing stories about the one and only Bernie Perrant, the greatest goalie in Flyers history, the Hall of Famer who passed away in late September.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, Brian Propp, legendary Flyers player, played 11 seasons for the Flyers. We appreciate you joining us here on BetPARX Saturday, live from the Sportsbook in Bensalem. Lots of great stories, of course. We could be here all day talking about Bernie Perrant. BetPARX Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook. Of course, you can give the gift of entertainment this holiday season. Tickets to see national headliners at the Excite Center at Parx Casino make a great gift. Parx Casino has something for everyone's entertainment taste. A big lineup ahead coming up in January, February, and March. Among the headliners, Tracy Morgan, comedian, coming up March 14th, as well as Ken Jeong, the very funny guy from the Hangover movies. He will be here December 6th. So some tickets available for those shows and much more. You can check out the entire lineup at parxcasino.com. Entertainment to buy tickets. Of course, you must be 21 or older. Have a gambling problem, please go to 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Of course, a big Eagles-Cowboys game tomorrow in Dallas. After that, of course, you're going to want to turn your attention to the Philadelphia Union, who kick off the MLS playoffs Sunday against New York City FC. The odds makers have the Philadelphia Union as the favorites heading into their semifinal matchup with New York FC. And we wanted to get some perspective, some insight on the Philadelphia Union as they try to make a run and go for their first championship. Wouldn't that be something? Perhaps a parade down Broad Street for another football team in town, the Philadelphia Union. So we caught up with Union, ex-Union star, their first player in the Ring of Honor, Sebastian Letou, to get his insight on the Philadelphia Union as they embark on their playoff run. Take a listen. Sebastian Letou, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jeff. How are you?
Great. When I look at this Union club, is this hands down the best Union team that we have ever seen in this city?
I feel it's close. Yeah, it's going to be one of the best for sure. They are doing an amazing season, and hopefully they are not done yet.
What is it going to take for this team to not be done? Obviously, big match as they kick off the playoffs against New York City FC. What is it going to take for this team to finish what could be a magical run?
It's going to take a few stuff for sure. We are going to first need the guys to play the same way as they've been playing all year long. Especially at home. They just had one loss this season, and they're being pretty amazing. When they play at Subaru Park. So we are going to kind of need the same type of mentality they've been all year long. But we all know it's difficult to do all season, especially now coming in the cold months and the postseason. Playoff, it's always a different type of feeling and atmosphere for the players. So the good thing is the team finish first in the league in the regular season, so they have the home advantage, which is huge. And we all know how the fans are so important in those type of games to kind of like feel them during the time maybe difficult, or you need a reaction of the team. So it's going to take a lot of loud fans, I think, to help the team get the win, because New York City FC, who's coming this weekend, is in a pretty good form as well. But it's just a one game, so yeah, it's going to need everybody, from the fans to the player, to be at the top of their game to get through.
I ask athletes all the time. The fan base down in Chester is amazing at Subaru Park. How much does an athlete, do guys feed off that? And obviously when you're on the road, it's a different kind of energy. But when you're at home with a fan base that is that passionate in that stadium that gets very, very loud, do you guys feed off that, or do you not hear that?
No, you do feel on it for sure, and you do not, let's say, are happy when the kind of stadium is quiet, or you feel, like the worried sometimes when maybe the team has been, not good for like 5 minutes, and the other team is attacking pretty strongly. You feel the momentum of how the fan react, from the play of the game. So it's definitely a huge help when they can feel the momentum switching, the team doing good and close to score. You are a player, is give you like, the extra, inches, to maybe pass in front of the defender to get the ball, or jump higher than maybe you are not going to jump as high you think, but just feeling, the little extra push from the roar, of the fan. It's definitely an extra help that, being a home team you have compared to when you go away. So I was lucky to be on the field. I was, the forward, and I'm telling you, a lot of goal I score is because I was feeling the push of the, crowd, feeling that okay, I'm so close to score, and like give me the extra energy to get the last step or something like this. So no, it's for sure a big difference, and hopefully, as usual, during the playoff, Super Bowl Park will rock, and the fan will be behind the team.
You mentioned about being cold. I think that's maybe one of the reasons why I never played soccer. Wearing shorts outside late November just does not go well for me. Obviously, this time of the year, of course, I'm not athletic. Having said that, do guys get cold? Like, I'm always curious. I'm like, I see guys running around in shorts. You played this game at a very high level. You're in the Ring of Honor. Are guys cold? Do you get cold out there in shorts in November? And should the season end, by the way, in September?
I mean, you get cold for sure. You just you need to keep running. I feel like in soccer, pretty much everybody runs. So then the cold, cannot get away. I would say what's the most bothering is your toes. Your toes got cold, especially if it's a bit wet. Outside, if you have your socks getting wet, and then you don't really feel 100% all your toes. I'm feeling hard for the goalkeepers because they are the one who don't run that much. So they are probably colder than the field player, but yeah, it's not, let's say one of my favorite. I prefer to play in a very warm weather, even like 100 degrees. I prefer that than the cold, but some guys like the cold. So you just need, to keep running. But we say it's, let's say, the toes who are like the most impacted during a cold weather.
We've seen not only in the MLS playoffs, but in professional sports, it doesn't always take the best team or the best player to win. Sometimes it's about who wants it more. What does it say about mental toughness this time of the year? Obviously, you look on paper and the Union, look, the best team in Major League Soccer on paper, but the mentality, what mentality do you need to have this time of the year as the temperatures drop, you're playing at home, and you really maybe have to gut through some, the weather conditions and everything else that may be going on the field?
Yeah, I feel it's playoff. It's such a different mentality than the regular season because it's one game. It's you win or you go home. It's all about, I feel like, grinding as well. It's like you say, who wants it more? Who gets the mentality? You can have a good day, you can have a bad day, but at the end, it's who in a team can bring up the other teammate who maybe are not having the best game, and then from the coaching staff kind of feeling too as well where the team is at, and make maybe the tweak into the lineup for with a sub or something like that, a different formation to make the team successful. But yeah, it's all about mentality, doing the right thing, little extra effort that you want to give, because at the end it's pretty much 11 guys against 11 guys, and who wants it more? Because on those games it's of course the talent, but you need a little bit of luck, you need a little extra help sometimes, from something you don't even think about. And it could be always a guy maybe we don't think that he's going to have this great game and score an amazing goal. I remember you kind of get a win like that. So it's all about big mentality, no give up, give everything you have for 90 minutes and hope for the best.
What do you think the biggest difference is between this Union team this year compared to last year? Obviously, Jim Curtin is no longer with the club. There's a new manager, new coach with this team, new coaching staff, and there's some new players. But is there a single thing you can identify that says that, hey, this is the difference this year, in your opinion? As you're the radio analyst, you're one of the analysts with the team. You do a great job on the radio as well as with Apple TV. So when you look at this team, what in your mind is the biggest difference this year compared to last year?
I think it's a different type of mentality the new coaching staff brought, to this team. Brady Carney, come as a new coach after a long, spread of Jim Curtin. So not easy, to come with a lot of older players who have been in the team for a couple of years now, who have been successful. And I think what he brought with his coaching staff was really to have all his team buying in his, way of playing and, his kind of mentality as a coach to knowing that if you buy into what I'm asking you to do on the field, we can be all good together. And the fact that last year, we didn't make the playoff, I don't think it was because of the fact there was no talent in this team. It was just maybe the same thing happening with the same coach for 7 years, and he was maybe not giving confidence to all the players in a group. But this year you can see the big difference. It's Brady Carnell, used pretty much the entire roster to get results away from home when we are playing always every 3 days. He was not scared to start a young player over maybe an experienced player. So I feel you really feel the mentality and the brotherhood into this team, from the youngest player to the oldest, and they all know they are all together in the same goal, is to win an MLS Cup. They already won the Supporter Shield this season, which was an amazing accomplishment. And but you can see like the camaraderie, like the good spirit into this team. It's not about one individual or two. It's about everybody, and you see it when they play the game. They work out for each other, and everybody run his butts off to get the ball back and try to put it in the back of the net.
We're talking to former Union star Sebastian Letou on BetPARX Saturday. When you look at this matchup against New York City FC, how do you think the Union match up with that squad? Obviously, there's a big rivalry with Philadelphia and New York, but when you look at this matchup in particular, what do you think the biggest challenge for the Union is and how these two clubs match up?
I think we match up pretty well against them. We just beat them at the end of the regular season 1-0.
Is that a good thing? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing because we know that at home, like I said, it's different. We lost against them, there, but at home, I feel like we have a little extra, plus to be in front of our fans. But we match up well because I would say the positive thing it's about New York City FC. It's they have a very good team. It's a very talented team. Lots of smaller players, not physical as much as other teams. But they go very quick. If they go in counterattacks, they can really beat you, with their speed, with their technique, 1v1. So the fact that we are at home, I feel like, we can put them under pressure and, try to, not give them as much time as they want on the ball, especially for their front three, front four. One of the, let's say news happening this week, during the World Cup qualifiers, their best forward just got injured, unfortunately for them, but he will not be playing against the Union, so it could be a little advantage as well, knowing that. But again, it's just one game, so they're going to miss, a few guys due to injuries or a red card, which we can take advantage as well of it and try, to get this game under our, belt and make it, our ground. But it's it's. New York City FC is a very good team. There's an ex-Union goalkeeper at Matt Freeze who plays for the national team now. He's a very good goalkeeper. It's going to be hard to beat him. But I thought with the team we have, and if we focus on ourselves and the way we have been playing all year, we should be, I think, the favorite because we have the fan as well. So it's a good matchup. I think we know how good they are, and I think that's why I feel it's a good matchup because we are going to be not thinking that we are going to win. We're going to know that this team already beat Charlotte away from home. They qualified to now come here. They are the underdog, and we know that they are good. So it's not going to be an easy game, but I feel confident about our chances.
I know what you would say if you were still a player, but what team presents, if you can look ahead, what team presents the biggest challenge for the Union? And listen, I don't want to hear the New York team because that's what you would say as a player. But as an analyst, when you look at the overall picture, is there one team in the league that you think is the biggest challenge for the Union if you can project ahead?
I mean, I will say like on the East, I think the Union is the best team, especially at home. So no matter what happened in a game between Cincinnati and Miami in the other semifinal, I think we have a chance to beat them as well. Again on the paper, of course, everybody's talking about Messi, for Miami and his squad, but Cincinnati has a very good team and they play at home. So I will not be surprised if Cincinnati beat Miami. But then on the West Coast, this year we play Vancouver in Vancouver had the biggest loss. It was a kind of a game to forget. We lost 7-0, and it was not, a good showing for the team. But I would love to see Vancouver again in a final to kind of get this revenge, And on the other hand, there's LAFC as well, with one of the best team. They just got a son, from South Korea, who just joined the team mid-year, great goal scorer, and they have a strong offense. So they are dangerous as well offensively. So, and it could be, the revenge of, the final in 2022 when we lost in New York, in LAFC, in PK. So it could be a great matchup for the final if I go to the MLS Cup final. But this time it will be, in Philadelphia, which again, it's a huge advantage, and I hope it happens.
Yeah, well, first thing I have to get by Matt Freese, the goaltender for New York. You talked about him. He's from, obviously, Wayne, Pennsylvania, played for the Union. Now he's a goalie with the U.S. men's national team. It just played at Subaru Park during the friendly for the U.S. men's national team. Do you think that's going to be weird for him? I mean, growing up in the area, coming back, again, going against the Union, the team that probably dreamed played 4 seasons with the Union. Is that going to be weird being on that field again, going against the Union? Or do you throw all that stuff out the window when you're a professional, when you're, just locked in like that?
Yeah, I feel, it's always a bit weird, especially before the game. I'm sure with his family and all his friends who are still from this area. Probably some of them are still Union fan, but they're going to support him, of course. So
well, I wonder who the family's rooting for, right? If they're,
exactly. So I mean,
but
yes. Yeah, so it's a bit weird. I think before the game, he has been already playing against the Union a few times with New York, so he has been there. When the game starts, I think you always forgot about everything, and you just focus, of course, on making your team win. But he's been a kid who is from here, like you said, went through the academy, made his mark. Unfortunately, was not able to play much because of course, Andre Blake being the goalkeeper of the league. But very happy for him that he found a team that. He got minutes, and now being in national team, it's a great thing for him, and he shows too as well that there's a lot of quality in the youth in America. When you bring a young player from the academy and grow like this, even if he didn't succeed as much with the Union, but you see now how good he was when he was young, and credit to him for all the hard work he has been putting in all those years. So yeah, it's going to be, I think, a little bit weird. Right now maybe he's talking to his family and friends saying like, okay, who is coming, who wants tickets. But when the game starts, you usually forgot about it, and it's usually at the end you come back to being from here and knowing everybody on the stadium.
Final few questions for you. What do you think it would mean, not only to the Union franchise, but to the city of Philadelphia? Soccer has grown in the city since the Union came here as an expansion team. What do you think it would mean for them to win the championship and win the cup?
I think, firstly, I think you will probably put even Philadelphia more onto the soccer map, into the US, since, having a MLS Cup will be, fantastic after, 15 years in this league, growing, from 2010 to now. All the let's say monies they have been investing into, especially like the academy and the youth, developing old Chester area with the stadium and now the field, the complex. It's been a long way. I've been there when it was nothing, and now you can see like how soccer is really growing so much in the past couple of years. So having now a title and recognizing the team for one of the best team, especially in the Eastern Conference, now since I would say a couple of years. We have been always on top. Just last year missing the playoff, but of course the MLS Cup is like a big achievement at the end to put this trophy into a nice case, showing at the stadium, and everybody can see it, and hopefully they can accomplish it this year because they have been very, very good all season long.
Absolutely. And then obviously there's a lot of excitement around this club as they get set to take on New York City FC to open the playoffs. But when you think about what's ahead in a few months, it's just a few months down the road, the World Cup coming to Philadelphia. We saw the friendly over the weekend, last weekend. There was a lot of buzz and excitement at Super Park in Chester. What do you think the World Cup coming to Philadelphia will be like? Obviously, as you said, the excitement has been growing. It's been building in Philadelphia with soccer. And so I would only imagine it's going to be just electric. I mean, I think 400,000 people are expected to make their way to Philadelphia for the World Cup in June and July of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. I think the World Cup is the biggest tournament in the world for sports. Being in Philadelphia is gonna be amazing. I'm looking forward to see the draw at the beginning of December, to see which team will be coming to Philadelphia to play. And I feel this competition is going to really, I feel, and I hope unite more and more the people in the US, of course, to support the team, but even discovering different fans and other countries who are going to come here to support their team, and hopefully be a great brotherly love like we all know in this city between different countries and fans, because it's always so much fun to watch game with my Irish friend who Ireland hopefully will qualify soon. You saw there's a lot of Scottish people I know as well. We are so happy to have Scotland coming to the World Cup since now a long time we didn't qualify. So you just want to be a part of that. And even if I'm not from Ireland or Scotland, but I'm happy for them to see what it means to them to be able to be in this type of competition, and just celebrating for a month in Philadelphia is going to be great. So from all the game at the Lincoln Financial to all the game will be happening, even if it's not in Philly, I'm sure a lot of people will be watching together and always tuned in. It's going to be a fun month to bring people together and just enjoying the sport of soccer or football, as everybody call it around the world, and just have a fun beginning of summer.
Yeah, have you gotten, obviously you're not from here, have you gotten used to American football, the Eagles? I mean, have you?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I bleed green on Sunday. Not this Sunday because of Union play, but
I get it. Yeah,
I do. Yes.
Well, hopefully there's a few wins on Sunday. The Eagles beat Dallas, and of course the Union beat New York City FC. Give me a prediction. Last thing for you, Union. They are favorites for what it's worth in this match. How do you see this one playing out?
I think the Union will win. I really do. I don't know if it will be in a regular time or might go to extra time, but I feel the Union should win that game. You want me to give you a score? It's like what you're going to do.
I'll take it.
All right. I will say a 2-0 Union. That's what I would say.
I thought it was 2-0. Is it? Do we not say 2-0?
I don't know. I say 2-0. I'm from France,
Okay.
So that's what happened. 2-0 might be an English thing.
I was always told in soccer you say no. So now you're telling me it's not no. Okay. All right.
No, it is. You say nil, but I say 0 as well.
Okay.
It's my used to.
I'm going to go with you, man, because I like saying 0 or nothing. Or saying nothing. I don't really like nil, but I just say it because I feel like I have to say it because it's soccer. But if you're saying it, you're the soccer expert. If you're saying it, then I'm going to go with 0 or nothing.
You can say whatever you want. I think everybody will understand.
As long as you get that W.
Yes, exactly.
Sebastian, thank you so much. Great talking to you. Great catching up, and best of luck as the Union make this MLS playoff run.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right, some great conversations today here at BetPARX Casino Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook at the casino in Ben Salem. Great conversations. Thank you to all of my guests today. And, of course, a big thank you to our producer, Andrew Frazier. Well, that will do it for us from Ben Salem today. I'm Jeff Skversky. Thanks for watching. We'll see you right back here, 12 o'clock noon next Saturday on BetPARX Saturdays, live from the Sportsbook Casino in Ben Salem. Go Birds. Eagles favorites over the Cowboys Sunday. Let's go Eagles. We'll see you next week. Good night.
We all silly like the mayor.